This is a special edition of Breaking Point on Real America's Voice News. We are live at CPAC 2021 Orlando. We have had a great show today. We had Dave Bossie from Citizens United, Kevin and Sam Sorbo, but just wait, the best is yet to come. We have Gavin Wax, who's the president of the New York Young Republicans. You are the oldest Young Republican group in the United States. You came down here from New York. You escaped from New York.
Escaped it.
Right?
Yeah.
So what's going on today?
No, it's great. We're great to be here in sunny Florida, a free state. We came down with about 100 of our members, a big contingent, and we're just happy to be enjoying freedom, the sun, and a lot of other fellow conservatives.
Yeah, so I live in New York.
Yes.
And it's incredible to see the resurgence of the New York Young Republicans under your leadership. And it's really fascinating because in New York, we're like 99.1% liberal. I'm a conservative. I'm a registered conservative. There's like 5 of us left in the state. But I love your meetings. You've had great people, Michelle McCory, Matt Gaetz recently, and you guys keep banging out these great meetings, and you know, it just keeps expanding, right?
Yeah. No, it's been a great year for us despite everything. I mean, we're blowing up. Our membership is almost doubled. We already secured a clubhouse in Manhattan, so we're going to have our own space to host events, to really, be a bastion of conservatism. We're going to have campaigns work out of there. And this is a big year for New York. We have the mayoral race this year. We have some local races. Next year we have the gubernatorial race. So hopefully we can see some change. I'm hopeful. I'm going to be optimistic. Obviously, it's an uphill battle, but you got to keep up the fight.
Right. So my children, 2 of my 4 live in Chelsea, the Upper West Side. I can't sleep at night. I can't help to think they're going to be assaulted, thrown on the tracks, on the subway. Subway crime is up 180% in New York City. Shootings are up 110% at least. Murders are up 40%. 92% of the restaurants couldn't pay rent in December, and only 14% of the office buildings have been reoccupied since the beginning of the COVID lockdowns, and all those small businesses suffering. What do you see on the ground in New York? Is there any hope?
It's incredible. New York City, especially Midtown, is turning into an outdoor methadone clinic. I mean, there's drugs, there's crime, there's trash. I mean, everything you can imagine, it's hitting New York all at once. It's been an acceleration of everything we saw pre-COVID, so it's just only gotten worse. And as far as the crime, I mean, what do you expect? They got rid of the plainclothes division. They got rid of a lot of funding. They got rid of, the ability for officers to make arrests, to do their job. The prosecutors won't prosecute. They won't do their job. So what do you expect? Crime's running rampant. People don't feel safe for the
bail reform.
Bail reform. You could commit an assault. You could commit a violent felony, and you'll be out on the street with a desk appearance in a few hours. So it's only encouraging more lawlessness, and the city is in a downward spiral.
So that plainclothes unit were like 660 cops in like over 50 precincts. They turned around the murder rate in New York City. Yep. So I'm in the building business in New York, and I worked with the Giuliani Administration in the mid-90s. The New York City Housing Partnership with Kathy Wild, combined with the Anchor Revitalization Program, federal loan guarantees for builders to take risks, to come back into Times Square, clean up Harlem, Malcolm X corridor. That's why Giuliani was so successful. And then broken windows. Yep. If you would jump in a turnstile, chances are you had a warrant or committed a crime, and you'd be arrested and taken off the street. De Blasio's not doing any of that.
No. The real estate portion of this is massive. I mean, there is a massive glut of housing and commercial real estate in New York. The prices aren't moving. There's a lot of vacancies, and they're not doing anything to encourage people to come back to New York. They're not doing anything to encourage businesses to come back. Small businesses are collapsing at a record rate. So the entire city is looking like a ghost town. I mean, if it isn't filled with crime and drugs, it's filled with empty storefronts, abandoned office spaces, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
Yes. So, in the kindness of his heart, de Blasio and Cuomo decided to let restaurants open up at 25%, right?
Well, now it's 35.
So now it's 35. Because
you got accused of sexual assaults, you up it by a table. That's how Cuomo thinks.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the Cuomo problems. He slaughtered the seniors. He has been harassing his staff for many years. Yep. And other things. He ended this crime commission that was looking into administration crime in his own administration. He ended it, right?
As if it was going to find anything anyway.
Right. So is this a coup by people who are even further left than Cuomo to take his spot? Because it's not led by the Republicans.
I don't think it's necessarily ideological. I think it's personal. I think Cuomo has built a reputation for himself in Albany. He's made a lot of enemies. I know through the political grapevine that the more liberal New York City Dems certainly don't like him. They're certainly very upset with him. And he's made a lot of enemies. And now this is an opportunity for them to stab him in the back and throw him off the bridge while he's basically a wounded animal.
I've never heard a positive message. Being on the ground at the Trump rallies for about 2 years, Trump always has a message. The rugged individualists that made this country great, the risk takers, the guy who opens the gates for his employees at 4 in the morning, that's what Trump stood for. I've never heard Cuomo once give a speech recognizing families, small business owners, right? It's always how bad we are.
He's a sociopath, he's a narcissist, he self-aggrandizes, and he projects his own crimes onto other people. It's very much a sick person, I really think, and I think his whole house of cards is falling apart. He could face impeachment, which is great, and I certainly don't think he has much of a political future.
Right, and Letitia James, there's talk of her.
Yeah, well, she's the one who really threw him to the wolves. She released the report. So this
on the health department,
The health department. This came from his own party. So if you get a few breakaways from the Democratic caucus, he could be looking at an impeachment.
For our viewers, Letitia James, the Attorney General, who's like very, very to the left, released a report that basically admitted that Cuomo administration hid the death counts in the nursing homes from Washington, from federal investigators, right?
DeRosa, she went on, we didn't want to get investigated. Well, now, I don't think any investigation is going to come out of the Biden administration. They won't even condemn him for killing, 15,000 elderly through his actions. I mean, it's insane.
You know what's even sadder than that? Is they just started a year later letting people visit their parents in the nursing homes. You imagine, the death sentence that we've given our seniors, right?
Well, I mean, look, I come from a big Italian family like you. I love seeing my nonna. I think, you can keep people alive through, love, seeing your family, seeing your friends. If you're isolated in a nursing home, you can't see anyone. What are you going to do?
It's terrible. So I want to have some fun right now because everybody's getting depressed out there.
Yeah, they are.
So Mr. Potato Head, right?
Yeah.
They decided that he's not going to become gender neutral. Is that good news?
Well, look, I think it's weirder that he's going to keep his mustache but not be but not be a man. I mean, I think that says more about what's going on with Mr. Potato Head than anything. I mean, look, this is insane. I mean, they're pushing this insane ideology on kids. It's like, who in their right mind cared about Mr. Potato Head being a man or a female? They have Miss Potato Head.
Yeah.
What does she think about this whole situation? Is she now a widow? Is she now unmarried? Like, what happens to her situation? No one cares about the female potatoes.
This is getting really deep. I'm just saying. So, all right, there's a county, I think it's Wenatchee County in Washington State. They're making the band practice. Only 50% of the marching band can attend, and each person playing an instrument is sitting inside their own individual Dick's Sporting Good mini tent. And I don't know if you saw the picture of the overlaid kid with the Suzavo stuffed in like a sausage.
In there, yeah. We've entered into like La La Land. I mean, the stuff that's going on, if you had told me a year ago that this was a real photo, I'd be like, oh no, this is out of a comedy. This is a comedy skit. This is not real. But they're all sitting there with their trombones, their saxophones, whatever, and they're just, they're playing inside.
And the parents don't even say anything about it.
The parents are probably crazier than the kids. The parents are probably in bubbles at home.
That's how they eat dinner.
Probably. They're just throwing the food on the plastic.
Yeah, right. You throw it in like a lion.
Yeah.
So, wow. So our school system, right? The New York City Teachers Union adopted the BLM agenda, which is in their mission statement to denuclearize the American family. So are the kids in New York City like doomed? They've lost a year of their lives, right? They're not in school, they're out in the street, and what's going on in the schools? Are they going to be back in school in New York?
Look, I have family who works in the Department of Education there in New York. A lot of them, they honestly want to teach. That's their passion. They want to get back into classrooms. They want to teach, but the unions are out of control. The unions don't want to actually do their job. They just want to collect their benefits, collect their pensions, collect their paychecks, and never show up a day to work. I mean, no one else has to do that. Talk about the people who are working at the grocery stores. Talk about the people who are working on the front lines, the nurses even. I mean, no one has had to stop working except teachers. For some reason, they think that they're special. They think that they're somehow in a different category of contagion or something. It's insane.
Yeah, and I can take my kids to Target and Kohl's and Applebee's every day, but I can't put them in school.
And it's hurting families. They can't. They have to go to work. They can't be watching their kids all the time. I mean, it's a sad situation.
That's really terrible.
Yeah.
The devastation is, I don't think people realize it. And wait till the sales tax revenue numbers come in New York City.
Oh, then all all of a sudden they're going to be pro-business again. I mean,
Yeah.
they're such hypocrites. They destroyed the tax base, and now they're trying to make up for it.
So the COVID tax in these restaurants, there's a COVID fee being added. It's taking away from the tips of the already hurting waiters and waitresses, right?
What's kind of crazy about this whole thing is that the restaurant industry, you know, hospitality, that drove large sectors of the economy, especially in New York, more than anywhere, and they just destroyed it. So you're seeing massive unemployment, you've seen massive drops in wages, and then, you know, a lot of these people were Democratic voters. They voted blue, and now all of a sudden they're seeing that they can't make the same money they used to, they can't work, and hopefully they wake up and they see that Cuomo and all these goons are not on their side.
Wow. Well, listen, Gavin, in about a minute, tell us about the mayoral race. Who's going to be the next mayor of New York City?
So I think the silver lining here is I think no matter who it is, Democrat or Republican, I think it's going to be improvement over de Blasio. I say that truly. There's instant runoff voting in New York now, so it moderates the primary. So for many years, the mayor was decided in the Democratic primary. With IRV voting, it moderates it a bit. So we have that going on. On the Republican side, we have Curtis Sliwa running. We have this guy, Fernando Mateo, running, who seems to have won a few endorsements from many of the different counties. Curtis was endorsed by Staten Island. The rest of the boroughs, I believe, went with Fernando Mateo. It looks like Katzmatidis is not running his daughter's county.
What about Andrew Yang?
Well, Andrew Yang, if you had told me a few years ago, I thought he would have been a decent Democrat. He's kind of annoying. I think he'll be a decent mayor, better than de Blasio, but he's not going to be great.
All right, everybody, the wonderful Gavin Wax. Go check out the New York State Young Republicans.
Yes, NYYRC.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, at NYYRC, and me, at Gavin Wax.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. This is David Zere. You're watching a special edition of Breaking Point live from CPAC 2021. Thank you so much. Trump is going to be here tomorrow. He's going to bring the House down. This event is about Trump this year. It's not about the GOP. People are missing him already. So everybody's got to stay tuned, stay motivated. And the new elections are only about 17 months away. So this is David Zere for Real America's Voice News. And thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much.